I don't know if you've ever been referred to as high maintenance as a woman. Maybe you know a high maintenance woman. But I thought that's what this scripture is saying to me. There's no room for being a high maintenance woman, having a lot of expectations and needs and desires for our husband that really were meant only for God to fulfill in us. We're to be so satisfied in our relationship with God that we are not constantly feeling disappointed and disenchanted and frustrated that our husbands are just not following along with these ideas in our mind of what we think they're supposed to be to us and do for us. And I just think it's a real dangerous road to travel down for us ladies, that we can let our minds play out all these scenarios, become really jealous over girlfriends who seem to have husbands that are so much more attentive or so much more productive, or I don't know what it is for you, but constantly looking at what your husband is not, rather than saying, you know what, for some of you, your marriage is so good, you're actually looking at your husband as one of your greatest joys and your greatest blessing, when really what stood out to me was the word temporary. Like this is a temporary blessing. The thought that I won't be married to Francis is sad to me as well, because I do enjoy him and love him, but it really challenges my heart whether or not I really love God most, whether my first love is for Christ. Our first love is not to be for our husbands. It's to be, and I've even heard so many people, they like to do that, God first, and then your husband, and then and then da 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 da. I think we just need to forget all that and just say God. We need to love God, and everything else will flow out of that. We need to love God with all of our heart, our soul, our mind, our strength. And for those of you who are in a really difficult marriage, that is your hope, that can I read Colossians 3 right now, or am I taking too long?
Yes, you may.
Thank you.
There's a biblical model of submission right there.
Thank you, Master. Since then, this is Colossians 3, verse 1. Since then, you have been raised with Christ. Set your hearts on things above, where Christ is seated at the right hand of God. Set your minds on things above, not on earthly things. For you died. I love that phrase. For you died. And your life, it's now hidden with Christ in God. And when Christ, who is your life, appears, then you also will appear with him in glory. We have to wrap our minds around that truth. This is not life. Our life is hidden away with God. That's true life. Right now, yes, God has put us here on the earth for a very short, temporary time. And he is going to use marriage in your life as one of the ways that he can display his love to the world. And he can use marriage as one of the refining and sanctifying processes. I mean, those of you who have been married know that you were just smacked with your own selfishness once you got married, right? You can attest to it. It is a very sanctifying process to be married and to recognize your own selfishness and your sinfulness. So we can't forget that God is in process with us and that he is using marriage to refine us. And we can't forget our theology. I loved what Matt said last week. That was so profound when he was deciding whether or not he wanted to travel to Iraq with his family. And he said, it really challenged my theology. Do I really believe what God says? And for us as women, we have to say, do I really believe that God is working all circumstances out for his glory? Do I really believe that God will supply all of my needs? Do I really believe that God has put me in this marriage and that he will do with it what he wants and that he will refine me in the process? I mean, that's the truth of Scripture, and that's what we constantly have to go back to, or otherwise, left to our own devices, we are just down the wrong paths of emotions and feelings and heartaches and sorrow. So we have to get back to the truth.